All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Not So Wide Divide. The boys are back together, y'all. It's been some weeks since we've had everybody together. We've done some here and there shots, but the boys are back together, so we're going to wrap together, just kind of catch up, see where everybody's been. So I want to welcome my counterparts in this project, Mr. Tory Brown and Mr. Coty Noblock.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where y'all been? Where you been, Tory? Coty?
I've been here.
Yeah, you been here.
I've been here.
Tory said it's on YouTube too, so everybody sees you eating. You'll be all right.
Yeah, all right. Let the man finish chewing, man.
We had some scheduling conflicts, and Tory is such an amazing employee that he had to skip us to stay to his career. So
I go on call for my job every 3 weeks. That's the only reason I missed. I wasn't blessed to have 2 work vacations, to where I had to try to rush a podcast and have everybody here, But hey, that's pretty much where I've been,
You didn't go to Colorado and ski?
No,
and stuff?
man, no skiing, no CBD, none of that, man. I was here riding around in a vehicle from anywhere from Bell Rose to Coky, trying to make sure people could get internet, telephone, and TV.
Be in people's attics and stuff. Sweating.
You ain't in nobody's attics anymore.
Man, I'm in the attics, man. I'm not that supervisor that just...
They said y'all just sweating right alongside his people, bro.
I'm right there. Yeah. Let's go to war together.
But boy, they got to be out of here on these days when we do these podcasts. Hey, clothes got to go. Ain't got no time. They not edited.
2 hours, man.
Together, but it's all good.
2 hours talking. But other than that, man, yeah, that's it. Just
so what's going on good in your world, bro? Like, where you at?
Well, man, of course, I haven't been here since the Derek Chauvin deal.
That is true.
That was huge for the culture, if it makes sense, and it
absolutely makes sense.
It was kind of horrible for the culture, if it makes sense. Once that verdict was read, I'm gonna go ahead on. Once that verdict was read, just to see other brothers and other black people be happy because a cop finally got held accountable, and it's just scary, to be in this day and age in America, and that's what we celebrated as a culture. So that was kind of uplifting and scary at the same time, because we shouldn't be having to do that. Watching that trial and watching what the charges was and seeing that it just had to be doubt put into the jury's mind that could have allowed this cop to walk was amazing, and seeing how we turn up behind this and really get mad at America for it when it's really how the law is written, like Coty said when we first started talking about this, and that's dangerous. That's a dangerous law because of what it could happen, and just even looking at that, and if he would have been found not guilty, that we had the National Guard there, not policemen, the National Guard there to defend civilians. Like, going through this, man, I'm thinking like, man, look at our world. Like, this one verdict could really make us close to a third world country.
That was that low, and that was my same thought process when I watched the verdict, and I was like, man, when the National Guard, they were talking about the National Guard, they were showing their lineup, and I was like, they thought the King situation was bad and the riots in L.A., that's not going to hold a candle to this if they don't do the right thing here.
Right.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm glad he was, but I did not think he was going to get found guilty on all 3 charges.
Me either.
Now,
I did have an issue with the jury not being sequestered, because it's kind of, and I don't want to go off on too many different little tangents, but it's kind of the same point that I had with the whole voting issue, right? Like, why not, make it to where you don't have to guess, because right now people are saying, well, the jury wasn't sequestered, they went home, they watched the news, they getting this external pressure on them to make sure they convict on all charges. Why not sequester these people and take all that doubt away from the verdict? I don't understand why, because you're risking mistrials. You're risking. All it's gonna take is one of those jurors. Now, I know you'll see in the news that they say, "Oh, this juror admits that she was pressured." That was a standby juror. That wasn't an actual juror on the. But all it takes is one of them to say, "I felt that external pressure, so I convicted." And now you're gonna retry it, and we're back to the same doggone crap again.
Yep.
All right.
I don't get what, you know.
And two, I don't care, man. Like, we need to change this where the cop could say he didn't have to get on the stand. Because
Well, everybody has that right.
I understand, Coty, but when we killing or having an accident, I just don't see how you want the judge, the lawyer, to present doubt. You want your lawyer then to make everybody else seem wrong.
But
let me finish. Let me finish. Right. You know, and we got this one man dead that can't never speak for himself, and yet you want the world to believe that you're innocent, but you don't want to speak for yourself.
Well, it's not your job to prove your innocence. It's the
again,
prosecution's job to prove your guilt. Because we're in this country, we're innocent until proven guilty, and we don't want to lose that, Tory. We do not want to lose that.
But I mean, if you behind bars, you ain't too innocent.
Until you're proven guilty. Right? But there has to be enough probable cause in place to keep you behind bars.
Right. But I mean, from what we're looking at, what probable cause we needed
to keep him incarcerated?
There's a
long criteria that like,
right,
because most people are awarded bail, right? But it depends on
he was out on bail,
but on cases where the judge takes into consideration, a lot of it is prior record. They take
Flight
into
risk,
case your flight risk. They take into case your monetary availability to become a flight risk. Like, if this guy had a home in Europe, he wouldn't have been out on bail. Right. So all those things come into play, and you can't take a right away from him just because
I don't want to take a right away from him, but I don't want him to be able to be like, if it's that right. You say, what all rights we have? Name rights we have.
Well, I mean, freedom of speech.
But once you go to jail, name what rights you still have in there. Because once you say freedom of speech, we know.
But there's a difference between going to jail and being convicted of something.
All I'm saying is, I just want a murderer to have to take the stand, especially if you're in a badge.
I understand that. Well, he's not a murderer until he's convicted.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
by law. By law.
Well, by our country's standards, right? Because if not,
that's a law.
Go to Singapore and you get caned before you get tried.
Right.
Like, it's not about that. It's a judge, jury, and executioner.
So what's the fear in that then?
What's the fear in what?
What's the fear in Singapore if you get caned before you do it? Most crimes you ain't gonna do.
It's illegal to chew gum in Singapore.
Man, you're being a politician.
I'm not. I'm just simply saying, because one comes with both. One comes with the other one. Right? Like, you can't sit here and say that.
I'm not sitting anywhere. I'm just asking a question. I asked
so what
about,
was your question?
You said, Tory, you can't take a person's rights away, right? I say, well, there's certain rights you have when you're not in jail that you're not, but because it's the law, you can't do it. It's the law. It ain't nothing human. That's a law, right?
Okay.
It was something. It's a law, exactly. So all I'm saying is, if it's a law, certain parts of the law, if you in uniform and you commit what he did, not saying if it was just a rare accident, the fact that it was however many minutes after he was unconscious, he was still there. He was still there.
But we can't. It's a slippery slope when you start talking about taking a right away from an individual.
In uniform, making a different law for an individual in uniform that has killed someone.
So what is your proposal? What are you saying?
This is me speaking.
I understand that. So if you want to take something away and add something, what
is you talking about, Jared? I'm not taking anything. I'm saying, did you hear me?
You just said, you said you wanted to take his right away.
I didn't say. I say we need to put into the law, if you kill somebody in uniform, you should have to take the stand. I didn't say take anything away. So I'm saying that
should be part of.
Just like once he did it, we had to prove him innocent or doubt. All right, cool. I understand that. So let's add another one to it. Because all his lawyer had to do was prove that or make doubt that he didn't die from his knee. he died from something else, correct?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, yeah, you said create
What was
create reasonable doubt.
Reasonable doubt, right?
That's all right.
But that's in every law, regardless of badge. You know what I'm saying?
I that's why I said specifically, if you did this to somebody in uniform, you should have to take the stand. That's what I'm saying. They should put something into it.
And so, and speak, answer the questions, not have so you lose your Fifth Amendment right.
If you in a uniform, just like for instance, when you go to work for a job, if it's a traveling job, it's not illegal for you to drink your alcohol while you off. But if you go to work that Monday and that alcohol still in your system and something come, even though you didn't drink that during your shift, you gonna get fired, huh? Or you gonna have some type of.
But you're talking about civil stuff versus criminal stuff.
I'm talking. What's
Just
civil about what I just said?
That's what you're saying,
right? What's civil about what I just said, Coty?
A job firing you.
Man, I'm talking about the rules to that job and the rules to the law, period. The rules of that job is you cannot drive under the influence, correct?
But job rules and law are different.
Coty, see, this is my opinion.
I get that. I'm trying to understand your opinion.
All I'm saying is, see, you saying, Tory, you want him to take his Fifth Amendment right away. If you gonna be a cop and you could say, hey, I fear for my life and shoot me, or hey, I was doing what I was taught and stand on my neck for forever, that you wouldn't do if you was a regular person, that badge and the law protected you to do some of those things, right? So while you still in that badge or whatever that law is, let's also implement things to stop you from just being able to just.
So what happens if he's fired in between the trial and the incident?
What you mean?
Like Derek Chauvin was no longer a police officer.
He's getting done for the crime he committed while he was a police officer. Cool. I don't. So if I shoot you in Texas,
but let me
hold on. If I shoot you in Texas and I go to Louisiana, you should leave me alone for that crime.
No.
Right. So if I kill you as a cop, but I quit while I'm in jail, hey, you can't do me nothing for that. That's basically what you just asked.
No, you're asking essentially that when people choose to become public servants and choose to put their life on the line and wear the badge and do their job,
it doesn't give you a pass to not.
He's in jail. He's incarcerated.
Man, Coty, you're not see.
But you're asking me to give up my.
I'm not asking you to give up shit, Coty. I'm saying this is what I think. If you're in uniform and you kill a man, I don't like the fact that you don't have to take the stand. But without you saying a word, a lawyer could present doubt and you walk.
But let me just present this thing to you. So, if he takes the stand, right, and that proprosecuting attorney or that defense attorney is top notch.
If he wins, he wins.
And he asks a simple question of, because again, the jury's job is to find innocence of guilt or provide reasonable doubt. So if he takes the stand, because it goes both ways, right? And he simply asks that question.
Strictly just my point of view.
Now, I understand that, and I'm not trying to change your point of view. I'm just trying to get an understanding across the board that you say, if this does change, right? If this says, if what your opinion is an opinion held by many, right? And it's something that needs to go and say, hey, look, we need to change this.
That's not what, right? This is strictly me, Tory Brown's opinion, not a million other people, because I'm not
saying it is. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah. And I'm just giving you my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just posing both sides of what you're saying.
But I ain't really looking for the other side of what I'm saying.
I didn't say that you was. I'm just simply saying that if that happens, how would you feel about this situation is where I'm going, right? And that him taking the stand, saying that he has to, because he no longer is protected by his Fifth Amendment right, because you feel that way, and that's
because he took the job to wear that same badge.
Correct.
That's going to allow him to do certain things that another civilian can't do.
Right. Like if they change that law today, any cop getting into that knows that
I'm signing when I sign up for a police officer.
I get that. If they change that and somebody chooses to be a cop, that's fine.
That's all I'm saying.
But
let me out.
I would say would that still affect me, because that law would be put in after I'm 20 years into my career.
Yes, any law is going to be proactive. So, but what I'm saying, that signs in the law.
Going forward, yes. But at that time, I mean, you've been here. See, and then that's still a devil's advocate, because of the simple fact that how long you been here? 15, 20 years, you say?
I've been 20 years.
20 years. So, knowing your history in 20 years, why would you feel that that would derail you as a cop?
Because it's not my job to prove my innocence, because we live in America. It's the prosecution's job to prove that I'm guilty.
If I think like it's not my job to prove myself innocent, right? Listen to that. It's not your job to prove yourself innocent, because we in America.
One of the beautiful things about this country is everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So that you can't.
Would you feel the same way? Would you feel the same way if you had to sign something with charter that said if something came missing in a household that you worked at, that you had to testify?
Yes. Yes.
That you don't have the right to say, you got to say that I stole that. It ain't my job to.
Yes. Know why? Because who better to speak for me than me?
But I understand that point. But who better to incriminate yourself but you? Right? Certain things that you say, lawyers, that's how doubt is created.
Right.
By you talking.
That's just right. But I mean, like you say, it's still my amendment. Regardless of this going on with the doubt.
But that's what I'm saying. If they said you have to potentially incriminate yourself.
So hey, let's completely wipe out what he just said. Your question was, if charter said, Tory, you had to sign this, and somebody said something coming missing out of their house, you had to go wherever for it. I said yes.
You'd have to testify.
In the discussion, because I know my character. Regardless of what they had to prove and this and that, I'm gonna go to bat for myself. So you asked the question, I said yes, I would sign, because I don't have no problem going into a customer's house. And
that's not the problem.
But that's not what you. And how often you going? So I've been working this job 11 years. Out of 11 years, one person said something came up missing out of their house while I was there. 11 years, one person. How many years has Derek Chauvin been doing his job?
I couldn't even
I'm
tell you.
not sure. He was a veteran, so
how many times he had?
He had quite a few. And look.
So when you lenient to, once again, when you lenient to discipline and consequence, you gonna play it out.
I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah, correct. I'm 100%. With you too. I'm not.
And I'm with you. He should have been. His level of accountability should have been to a point that we never got to George Floyd. I'm 100% with you on that. I'm not opposed to like people were saying, oh, we need a national database to keep track of law enforcement officers' disciplinary records. I'm not even opposed to that, because like you said, I do my job to the best of my ability, and I have no problem answering anything that I do. But I don't want to give up my rights.
That'll cover you in case you do F up.
It's not to cover you.
It's not to cover everybody.
You can simply misspeak something.
See, once we start saying everybody, I know everybody got that right. That's common sense. I'm simply saying, if you're in a uniform and something happens to where somebody dies at your hands,
but this is the thing. You
shouldn't be granted the option of not testifying.
But that's
my strictly
I get that.
And I'm fine with you having that opinion. My opinion on it is this. The laws are written by attorneys. The procedures.
That's a fact. That's not an opinion.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's actually.
I know, but I want your opinion. I don't want no facts, because I'm strictly giving you my opinion.
I know, but I'm trying to present facts that lead me to the opinion that I have. Okay?
See,
laws are written by attorneys for attorneys. They're written in a gray area where you can argue one way or the other. And it's written like that so that you have to have an attorney. Now, you're talking about me, who's not an attorney, sitting on a stand and going to get somebody whose sole profession for the last 15, 20 years is making somebody slip up so I can go, aha, I got you.
Right, but I'm not saying you shouldn't have an attorney. Somebody else could defend you. But my whole thing is, regardless, if you if you slip up, you slip up.
But dude, you know how many people go to jail for that exact thing that you're saying?
Hey, if I sign a paper saying I'm going to protect and serve before I'm down there.
No. I get that. I'm not.
That's my whole point. It's nothing else about how many people get caught up in the slip. It's just about, if I know as a cop that only if I kill somebody or somebody dies in my care will I lose this. No other reason. Guess what? a lot of people are going to go home at the end of the day, G. It ain't nothing about the right. It's about the right to live versus the right to not go sit behind bars for a few years.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with your opinion. I'm not at all. Like Coty said, I agree, and we have said this a number of times. I do think that there should be a national database for for police, write-ups or whatever, their record. I do think that cops should be held to a higher standard than a civilian.
Right.
I don't think that an approved training technique that results in the death of somebody should be your escape out of a crime. I don't. Because it's still, the human element of it still says, hey, you still knew he wasn't breathing. You still knew, like, he's no longer detained. He's no longer.
And we all went over that.
And we all agree with that.
Yes,
we all on the same page. Again, my opinion. There's no buts. I'm just simply, again, your opinion, his opinion. My opinion still says that I look at everything saying that if you're going to hold this person accountable for this, not accountable, but if you're going to change somebody's rights because somebody's constitutional rights, right? Everybody's still Americans. If I'm going to change their rights, would I be okay if down the line they did the same thing in my profession?
So do you think as a policeman in a badge, none of all your rights don't get not changed, but are looked at differently?
Absolutely. There is, because they have so many protections.
Once again,
I agree with you.
It's not something that we also tell you, hey, you have to be a cop. Cops, I feel, are special people. It's a calling to be a cop. So if you can't just wake up and you could wake up and be a cop, but that's not cops to me. You know what I'm saying? That's just somebody going to try to get a check.
No doubt.
So like Coty said, he knew he wanted to be a cop all his life. You know what I'm saying? And something you wanted to be all your life, it's going to be certain things that you would agree to or not agree to if it's put in front of you day one. And that's all I'm saying.
But and what I'm getting at is if they change that law today, that's not something that was put forth to me day one.
I understand. But hey, once again, it was an opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
But right.
Hold on. Because I want to answer your part. I'm sorry. I keep putting the mic away. So when our company did a buyover, a switch over, we went with another company. It had some rules that was changed, and it had some senior people that was there. We didn't just force them people to take that. We presented them a package in case they didn't want to take that. So somebody in your case, even though it's over an opinion, I'm sure if that was to change, the powers that would be were like, hey, I got 50 cops that's been here 20 years. They ain't going to even take this. All right, well, let's put a package in place. You don't want to do this? We can't keep you. Here you go, and take your time and go.
There's no doubt.
And like a retirement package?
Pretty much.
It's severance
not
package.
A retirement, a severance package.
Severance package.
So I would lose my...
Yep.
Hey, I mean, if it came into that, yeah.
You absolutely would. It'd be no different than, like you said, any other, because again, and this is again based off of Tory's avenue of his opinion. Again, if you look at it on a business standpoint, is that if they go in and change policy and procedure,
right,
like a new company's taking over.
Well, I mean, and it's not just the Fifth Amendment. They're looking at, they're attacking qualified immunity. They're attacking a lot of things, and using this to try to take a lot of those things away, right? And some things I'm for, some things I'm not, right?
Of course.
Taking away qualified immunity, I'm not for that.
They'll never take that away. I think they're going to adjust it.
Now, and look, if it's adjusted in a way that makes the community safer.
Hey, I'm about to hit you with a cop question.
Yes.
If I pull you over, right?
Uh-huh.
And you want to search my car, and I tell you I ain't got nothing in it, and you say, well, why you don't want to let me search your car? And you already told me I ain't got nothing in it. You ain't got nothing to hide, so why you don't want to get rid of your qualified immunity?
I'm not understanding. Like, you pulled me over?
You pulled me over, right? Hey, man.
I pulled you over.
You
Okay.
pulled me over. Hey, man, I
Right.
smell something in your car. You got anything in there?
That's
no.
different.
It is different. But
If I smell something, it's different.
Hey, man, you got anything in your car? No, you don't smell nothing. Can I check it? No, you can't check it. Why you don't want to let me check it, man? You gonna make me have to call these people and get this search warrant and do all this? Hold on, Coty. I'm talking just like this.
All right.
Right? And then you do all that and you find out he ain't have anything, right? And now you like, man, why you made me go through all this if you ain't have anything? Right?
Well, I'm first off,
You never heard no cops talk anybody down like that?
I've heard cops say, look, but again, everything's situational. Okay,
That's why the uniform and the death is situation.
that's not what I'm getting at. Because if I pull someone over and there's precursors to them, like they're more nervous than usual. They're not answering the
What's
roadside
a usual
interview.
nervousness?
Everybody's nervous when they pull over.
Right.
But
Everybody.
you don't see that statement right there gives me the freaking creeps and drives me nuts because you don't know that person's normal state of behavior. So I understand. I get, and again, that's your training. It's instilled in y'all.
That's one. Listen to me.
But boy, that is a determining factor for so many things going bad.
But you're getting yourself worked up. You're not even letting me finish, right?
Because it's a worked up situation.
That's one thing. That's just one. If it's just over nervousness and there's no other precursors, I can't even call a dog out there, right? You can't. But if you have the increased nervousness,
change that so you can't, so you're not supposed to. Because they do. I mean, especially now with the number of people that have camera phones and the things that dash cameras, there's so many things that are caught from start to finish that it's going. And again, they are reprimanded. I'm not saying freaking happen.
and I don't disagree with you on that.
You know, and that's what I'm saying, because that training has to change.
But if things are done by the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
If things are done by the book with the policies and procedures that are in place now, you don't have those problems, right? When I pull you over, that's a roadside detention. It's a temporary detention. It is, okay? But I have legal grounds to do that because you broke a traffic law. And you gave implied consent to that whenever you got your driver's license. Anything past that, I have to have at least reasonable suspicion to be able to do that. Just somebody being overly nervous is not enough. But if you're overly nervous and I'm asking you precursor questions that I'm not going to get into on here because it's policy stuff, right? You fail those. You
How
fail.
can I fail a question that I never had the test to? Or even the study guide?
It's the way you answer them, right? But there has to be several things that lead me to that reasonable suspicion to even call a dog there.
It's the same thing like with a DWI checkpoint. So there's precursors
right. Because
that
now I'm getting to an extended detention, and I have to have that reasonable suspicion to keep you there on the side of the road. Okay? If I don't have that, sign right here, sir. Have a good day. Right? When I worked narcotics, there was a saying that our boss passed on, and I've passed on to people that I've trained, since then, is if they're selling dope today, they're selling dope tomorrow. Don't jeopardize yourself. Don't jeopardize your integrity just to find some narcotics, right? If it's not there, it's not there, and let the person go. It's not worth your career. It's not worth the community outcry. It's not worth you jeopardizing your own integrity, and now you can't be a cop anymore because you were trying to circumvent the rules so that you can get a little dope. If he has it now, you catch him later with it, right? And
How are you gonna catch them later? How you stop them?
If speeding stops, I mean, there's a gazillion different reasons why you can get stopped. What I'm saying is, don't.
I've just had to ask the tough questions, Coty. It's a podcast. I'm sorry. Like
I don't mind
your statement
answering.
was, if he's selling dope today, he's selling dope tomorrow. If you're a cop killer today, you're gonna be a cop killer tomorrow. If you're a cop that kills today, you're gonna be a cop that kills tomorrow. See, we got to get away from certain terms. And only reason I trust me, I see where you're going, and I appreciate what you're saying. But still, as a cop, when I hear you say certain things, I know if it was the opposite way around, it'd come with a precursor or something else. Like, man, them tags that we put on things, they really could go left fast. But carry on. I'm sorry, I pulled the Jarred. My bad.
No, I mean my only point to the whole thing is, don't put yourself in a situation that you break in policy that
as a police officer.
And that's
like That's all I'm getting at. Now, again, with that other scenario that you brought up, if I walk up to your vehicle and I can smell marijuana emitting from the inside of it, that increases that reasonable suspicion that you have marijuana in the vehicle, right? So now I can have an extended detention on the side of the road. I can call a canine out. Canine walks around the car. If the canine detects the odor inside the vehicle and gives a response, then we have probable cause to search. Right, I can't go get a search warrant just because you're refusing to let me search a vehicle.
I mean, right? I don't know the law. I'm just.
That's why I'm answering those questions for you.
So, and like you said, and that's all I was saying. Like I really didn't want our discussion to go this far left.
Look, you gotta understand this, man. And Jared and I have talked several times on this. I'm not opposed to law enforcement being held to a higher standard. Right, I'm not, because I hold myself to that higher standard. Okay, I am not opposed to that. I would have a problem with giving up constitutional rights, though, if that makes sense. And that's just.
But I mean, and I understand that. And trust me, a lot of people give up a lot of rights for certain jobs. Right. You know, it's just a regular job you could go to. You can't talk about sex. You can't talk about education. You can't talk about religion.
That's not. I mean.
See, here we go.
No, but what I'm saying is that's not a constitutional right. That's
it's free speech.
But you're mixing private and public entities.
Man, right? A right is a right, though.
Yeah, but
you don't have you have a right to walk around your backyard butt ass naked. You don't have that right to do it in the street.
Right.
Public, private. I mean, it's two separate.
So you saying my freedom of, so pretty much what they're stopping in the private sector is your freedom of speech, right?
No,
hold up. No. So if I can't go in there and talk about religion, what they stopping?
I don't understand where you're going at with, like, as far as saying, like,
all right,
I don't know any place of business that says it is against company policy to talk about religion.
I'm gonna bring it to you. I'm gonna bring it to you one day this week.
If you have a company handbook that says that, I'm not saying you. But I mean, when in a situation that is a violation. Again, you can't necessarily do it. You know, you can't force it upon people, and you can't bring those conversations in certain things because, again, you're in a private setting,
and it causes a hostile work environment as well. That's what they argue with that. But
it's still a right, though.
But your freedom of speech can't infringe upon someone else's pursuit of happiness. That's what
once you sign that letter of intent to work for that company or whatever, you're saying that you're willing to give this up.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, you're willing to give up your 8 to 5. You're willing to give up your time.
About that, it ain't nothing that I'm trying to rape from you, take from you, force to you. If we trying to save humans, and only in that situation, I just think it will save lives.
And I'm
you're
not
100% right. It would save lives.
Maybe.
If you change the mindset, you change the outcome.
I'm not talking about changing the mindset.
Well, that's what
I'm saying is whether Chauvin signed that piece of paper saying that he gives up his right against the Fifth Amendment, that doesn't save George Floyd. I think he does that crap.
It wouldn't have got to George Floyd, is what he's saying. It wouldn't have got because
he did it to not physically kill somebody, but he was brought up on a couple of charges of what?
Right, but those things need to change. That's what needs to change. It's not.
I'm just saying, man. At the time when we taking lives, something drastic needs to change. That's it. So, and like I say, we've been in the world for 40 plus years, maybe 80 plus years total, all us together. And I mean, things gonna change that we so used to that we may not like, but if it's for the betterment. What's the purpose? Anything we ever put in place was for the betterment of human beings, right? At least that's what that's the initial vision.
That's always the initial vision,
right?
It's for the betterment of somebody,
right?
Maybe not for everybody,
right?
So yeah, I get that. So let me ask you this to stay on the Derek Chauvin thing. What do you think is going to happen at the sentencing? Because I think that's going to be more important than.
So what I'm about to say gonna sound real no feeling is, but I don't expect them to get nothing, maybe 5-10 years. Half of it suspended. Honestly. I mean, yeah, the conviction was just a step. Sentencing, come on, man. I don't see nothing drastic. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hopefully we don't cut up.
I think they give them the max.
I will wish they give them the max, but I just don't see it. You know,
The max is like
40 years.
40 years.
I just don't see it.
Now,
But the
I just see
minimum
him as
is
a lesson.
15 from what I heard,
I
right?
don't-
And they
I'm
can
not
do
sure.
15, and then they could from the two, I guess, ends of the spectrum is I didn't know the max was
Like
40. I
15
thought
to
it was
40?
50. It was 40 is the max, 15 is the minimum, and then they can do 70%.
well, some
Or
of
something like that that they
70%
have.
stuff and all that comes into like good behavior, those type of things.
Correct, and it's saying that he could
Right.
he could get out in
Like
7.
potentially,
Was
right.
like his best case scenario.
Like if they
was
gave him
7.
15, he would get out in 7.
He could get like with
Right.
time, like because he has some time served
Right.
and he's got some this and some that, so he can get out in 7, and then the max would be 40. But that was on. I don't know if and again because I know the state's laws change on sentencing, but I don't know if that's per charge
No,
or if it's
that's all of it combined together.
that's if they run him. So they could say, so he could get the 15 and be out in 7 if that it's because see that's what I didn't know if they were talking about adding because you can do the concurrent, you can continue them, you can stack them. There's so many things that they can do when it comes
I
out.
think that 40-year figure is the worst case. Like if they
and then 20 years off of that, right? If we only giving them 7 off of 15 for good
I think you have to
behavior.
do like I'm not sure about their state, but I'm pretty sure it's like 75%
Oh, all right.
of your
Of
sentence
your
you have to
Yeah.
serve.
so-
Right.
and then you can
Now there are other incentives within there, like
parole.
if,
You can get early parole.
early parole. If you work for the prison and you go on good, like sometimes they'll take some time. There's a gazillion things that they have that he
I
can do
understand.
to. But I mean he's gonna. The very least, he's probably gonna serve at least 50% at least.
Oh, I know. Well, I figure. I don't know. I figure.
Right.
So but you're not optimistic about the 40 years.
I think he gets 40.
If he do, once again, you'll see black people celebrate something that we shouldn't have to celebrate.
But if he don't,
that's what we expect. That's really what we expect. It's just the way of the world right now.
no,
man.
I get it. I do, and it's a sad fact that we even have these conversations.
I think they use. Excuse me. I think they're using him as an example. I think external pressure. That's why I think he's getting 40. I do.
Yeah, because this judge, this is like the damn it, just almost had it in his brain. The judge from the OJ trial, like this is going to be a highlighted thing in his career.
Right,
like he's going to
absolutely.
always be known.
That was horrible.
Well, I'm just saying it's when you
That
look at
OJ
it,
beat that.
huh?
That was horrible.
What was horrible?
That OJ beat that.
Oh,
This was horrible. Man.
well, that was a.
Well, I mean, you got
It
cops
goes back
placing
to the once you got caught at something.
well,
that was
evidence on a crime scene. They didn't even need to do that on.
Right.
Just ignorant.
Just doing.
Ignorant.
See, but that goes back to it.
I'm
Always telling me
I'm not
like.
saying those things don't happen.
there's bad
Especially
news
in
everywhere.
big cities. You know what I'm saying? It's so, oh man.
It is,
And that's why, like, trust me, I know it's hard to do y'all jobs, man. And I ain't trying to make y'all job no harder. But, man, we need better accountability measures in place for cops, man. Just because, for one, when we was growing up, I thought cops was highly respected. We didn't really see this until the Rodney King thing, and then you started paying attention to just the disparities and
Man, I'm
stuff.
glad you brought. So let me ask you this. I'm glad you brought that up. So when the Rodney King thing happened, in your neighborhood culture, your environment, did it change your opinion on cops? Did it change how you viewed those situations?
It
Or
was
did
a
it
black
change-
and white thing. Because of the simple fact, maybe back then, a lot of families ain't really have TVs like talking about, so it was just big on the news. It was social media and
Yeah.
that's huge. So parents would probably turn it off, because they reliving it, especially grandmothers and grandfathers. Like, man, like it's on the news. Like it's the first time you ever see something like this on the news and stuff like that, and it's being televised. and the people walk. So it was so painful to the black community here with the lack of social media and TVs that they turned it off to not
relive it.
So we actually made jokes about it growing up in school, because we really didn't pay attention to it.
That's what made me relive that moment, just because we used to make that joke,
right?
And it was looking back at it, it's like, damn, that wasn't that right. Should have been our learning moment, not but not to poor Rodney. I mean, it was but it was, there was always made an excuse, right? He was a drug addict. He was this. He was that. He was, and they took, like your stance is always, they took his humility, his human beingness away from him, right? And they painted the picture of how bad of a person he was. And it kind of dismissed it, because I looked at it as growing up, it was like, that was an isolated incident, right? Like, I didn't put it past that.
Right, like it ain't gonna never happen again.
Yeah, man, come on, that's just crazy. These people are nuts. I can't believe they did that, And then when the riots happened, they were, pulling truck drivers out of their trucks and beating. It didn't matter. Well, I was going, and then it villainized that community. You made this community go, I can't believe these people are doing this just to random people, So it looking back on it now, I'm going, I can't help but to think, excuse my language, but how fucked up our thought process was back then, going, okay. And that's what makes me, have so much empathy to these situations, because it's like, boy, did we miss the boat so many times.
Right.
But you can go back and look at Rodney King and just the evolution from that to now. And I know the process is
slow, not
fast enough, right? But you can see that change taking leaps and bounds, especially the last 5-10 years, And I think we're going to see it happen even faster.
When you say leaps and bounds, Coty, give me
the accountability you're talking about. And
all right, who has been held accountable in the last 5 to 10 years?
What I'm getting at is with cell phone cameras and body cameras and those type of things.
Yeah,
they've made leaps and bounds to try to hold them accountable.
Right.
Not that they've legally been held accountable. Right. Is I guess what you're getting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I hear you. Like, so the measures, they took measures to kind of hold it out.
And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully, right, that we get way less and less incidents that happen with that higher accountability. I'm on your side with that. I am. Right. I don't want those type of people wearing a badge either, because it makes my badge look bad, right? We're getting there, and it's coming.
And I'll just add one. I don't necessarily. I don't want to, be the I guess the bearer of potentially bad news. But I don't think the numbers are going to change. Right? I just don't.
What numbers?
Just the numbers of bad incidents is happening. I don't think that'll change. I think what'll change in the next 5 years is that the incidents and what happened, they're held accountable. Like they're truly.
But those numbers will go down.
Yeah.
When the accountability starts happening.
I live with the fear, to be honest with you. That's what I'm saying. It's more of an accountability thing. And like we talked about, I'm not going to say no names or nothing like that, but one of our first podcasts, we was talking about work and stuff like that. Like, it was never an accountability issue at that time. Within the last 3-4 months, it's been a lot of holding that person accountable, and things have really spiked up better, even for the company. You know what I'm saying? So I feel what you're saying. I think it's still going to have incidents, but like, I do honestly believe that some change and some of them numbers would go up. Not a major spike, because
that's what I'm saying. I think when you're talking about percentages and numbers, you'll see that trickle, right? As the people are held more accountable, and as I hope, my whole position on this is that training does change and evolve, that you'll see that, as the whole tie the COVID thing, that curve will start to come down. But I don't think it's going to be, like Tory just said, I don't think it's going to be a spike. I don't think you're going to see it go from, 3% to 1% or whatever the number. I think you're going to see decimals. Like if it's at 3%, it's going to be 0.28, 0.27, 0.2. Like it's going to be a slow decrease just on the sheer population. And again, I mean, I read something the other day that it's like 10 million, interactions. That
Right.
it's an insane number. That the amount of interactions that police have.
Right.
The engagements. It's an absurd number.
Don't take me wrong on this one. The number of engagements that the community has with law enforcement, in comparative to the level of incidences that happen,
it's 0.01%.
They're low. They're low. Now, again, one George Floyd's too many.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that.
So don't take that the wrong way. So I get what you're saying when you start looking at percentage. When you're starting with a 0.5, it's going to be when you're looking at just percentages. Those are going to go down.
That's what I'm getting at.
But I do believe that the faith in law enforcement in a lot of these communities will go up, and the community interaction between law enforcement and citizens will, because it's already going up, right? And I think that's what Tory and I are getting at with in the next 5 years or so. I think you're going to see a whole lot more uplifting things than you will see incidences of just outright recklessness and criminality. Right. That's
and at least that's the goal. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Right. It needs to be, because like I said, I mean, it's when you look back on it, just
like
that mindset.
All the problems in the world, it shouldn't be. The United States should not have a policeman killing any human problem. You know what I'm saying? Like that should not be what's holding our coattails back.
Yeah.
At
least like you said, when it comes to dividing people, because it's a very divisive conversation, man. Just when we post things on our Facebook, like that's one of the
right.
You post something when it comes to policing, then you have the people that no matter what, they're back in the blue, and it's like, and then you have the
people that's gonna go against.
Yeah, and it's like, guys, can we just like
if we can clean this up?
We can't. This is so. And I hate to say it, but like it's easy. It really is easy. But we got to stop arguing about, what's really happening in people's mindsets and say, okay, let's, like we try to do, let's sit down on the table, let's hear people's opinions, and let's say, okay, this is what we agree upon, this is where we differ. Now, how can we bridge that gap? How can we come back together?
Right.
When it's because again, it's not. Yes, it is racially dividing in specific communities and in certain areas and in certain departments, but I don't think that's the global issue. We do have race conversations that have to happen that are separately than policing.
Right.
Because like the Derek Chauvin thing, it's not a race thing. Just an asshole cop that I don't think if
George Floyd was white, it'd still happen to him. 100%.
I don't.
No.
You don't think?
No.
Oh, I do.
No.
Well, because so let me ask you this: so how do you say all of Derek Chauvin's previous issues weren't against solely black people?
How many of them did?
I get it. I understand what you're saying, but
how many of them are dead?
None.
One.
Well, yeah, but I mean, previously I said none.
I and it's just my opinion. I think if George Floyd was a white guy, he's still dead. I don't think it was a racially motivated incident. I don't.
I'm not saying. Listen to me, man. Like, so it got some bias that's just built up in the people that it don't even come off as racial because it's just been them people for so long. It's their character. You know what I'm saying? So to you, it's not racial, Coty. To Jarred, it's not racial. To anybody that doesn't see color, it's not racial. To Derek Chauvin, that was because if it wasn't racial, he would have killed somebody else before he killed George. The fact that it was 3 people on George, Coty, he's a veteran. What did you see from George that would have made you stay in that position 3 minutes?
Well, and we've covered this.
So
I
that's
wouldn't have.
all right. And that's my whole thing. So it's not. I don't think it's with that particular officer. I don't think it has nothing to do with human. I think it's just because George was black, bro. Like the man didn't physically harm him at all. So it ain't a human thing at all. Like what? I mean, this man was helpless.
And again, we'll never know.
Right.
So
another reason
we're just going through
why
this.
I feel, because that'll answer some questions. Yeah, I'm gonna take away your right, but this'll really let me inside your mind. Right now, everybody from the lawyer to the judge to the juror to the defense are only going off what was this man really thinking. Right. Nobody knows what he really was thinking.
I'll tell you this: a lot of the legal.
See, I wish you'd have started with that.
I
got you now, though. I wish you would have said that.
A lot of the legal experts.
The law. Hold on, I'm sorry, but the law doesn't say that. The law gives you so many pieces and bits to where you could jump it or come underneath it. So that's why I said it the way I did. I didn't want to get it straight out because of the same fact. Yeah, let me be allowed to jump it and make it work for me, just like it works for everybody else. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of the legal experts, and again, it's Monday morning quarterbacking, but a lot of them actually claim that had Chauvin testified, it probably actually would have helped this case.
It would have. That's where I was going with it.
I didn't think.
Well,
I mean, even if it was,
I'm not a lawyer.
But that was every legal person on the, especially on the left.
Right.
You had Rachel Maddow, which is.
Man, them people was all right. Go ahead.
But I'm saying she is a like, if she was not on the news, she'd be a dynamite ass attorney. And I am not a fan of her, so I'm not plugging her. But she said the same thing. The best thing that happened for that George Floyd conviction was him not getting on that stand.
I don't care about that.
Right.
But they all say the same thing that you're saying, that the jurors wanted to hear from him. Yep. And all the legal experts say that if he that was a mistake by his defense team, him not testifying.
Yep.
Now we'll never know. I guess one of those things that we'll never know. I'm sure his defense attorney told him, don't get on the stand, because if you slip up and say one little small thing, they're gonna blow it up. They're gonna turn it around on you.
But it's not slipping up. You gotta lie. That's what he was gonna have to go there. And slipping up is something you don't want to say. You know what I'm saying? So he would have had to either lie about either his training or what he knew at some point. That's why he didn't get on the stand. At some point, he was going to have to lie. Did you notice George unconscious? What he was going to say? No. Yeah, no answer.
I mean, I don't. Again,
I'm just saying, like,
he could have said no, and he could have lied, or he could have said, I mean, I noticed he wasn't moved. Like, there's so many ways you can answer that, right?
I do, but and there's so many ways you can't answer.
That's why he doesn't go, because that creates reasonable doubt for the juror that lets him walk.
Man, so many has walked that didn't take the stand.
I understand that. I do.
Hey, wrap it up, man. Wrap it up. I know we're going to keep going, though. Trust me, we'll keep going. So, because I got a rebuttal for everything y'all would have said today on that one.
Well, if we're gonna call it, I just want to end with a, and I called you about it, but I want to tell Tory too about my phone call with Stephen.
Yeah, go.
So, Stephen Morgan, remember Stephen?
Mm-hmm.
He called me. What was that yesterday? Friday. Yes, yeah. So
it was yesterday. The day Saturday.
So he called me and so I answered it. It's a little small talk, but he brought a podcast up, and he said, "Man, look, I've been listening. It's great. I love the podcast." But then he tells me, he says, "Man, I don't know if y'all intended it like this, but," he said, "every morning and every afternoon going to and from school, he listens to our podcast and he pauses on something he wants to talk to his daughter about. So on the way to school, they listen to our podcast, and it opens a discussion for him to have these discussions with his daughter." And I got goosebumps now. Like, that's what it's about,
right?
And so I wanted to let you know that I called Jarred, talked to him, and I wanted to bring it up on a podcast too, so that our viewers, maybe they can open up that dialect with their children.
And that's something I might try with my kids, because I really didn't think of that, and we just thought, let's get our message out.
I'm gonna take his conversation a step further, because I talked to him as well after I talked with Coty, because they literally called me 5 minutes apart from each other that morning. And so I called him back in the afternoon, and he told me, I talked to Coty, and he tells me the same thing Coty says. And I'll elaborate where Coty was going with it. And he says, the point that I love the most, when Tory was talking about Black History Month, he said, because I never really saw from that standpoint, he said, I had a feeling. He said, so I stopped, and he said, me and my daughter had a long, lengthy conversation. And she says, we're talking about that now, like in her life, because it's sad that we don't include this in all history. So look, I got the chills talking about it too. For that to impact him enough to have a conversation with his daughter, for her to, because he said, I ain't gonna lie, he said, man, she's 16. We don't have, I don't know what to talk to her about.
Right.
So for this to bring a father and a daughter to have a conversation about culture, about politics,
Right.
about just the difficult things you normally don't talk about your kids about, man, look, I said, if that is the fellas.
Yeah, that's major, man. And like I say, man, we always seeing things from one side, you know, and we gonna come in here and have wars, you know.
Of course.
That's just the nature of the business. But Coty upside isn't, I'm trying to get 100 million to build this facility over here out of this class. You know, he's not trying to sell himself to somebody to get bucks. You're not trying to sell yourself to somebody to get bucks. I'm not trying to sell myself to anyone to get bucks. We just want people to understand human and difference of opinions, difference of races, and life, man. And if the humans that's out here killing each other continue to do that, and we continue to side with evil, the cycle is just going to continue.
Yeah.
You know, just having that history conversation with you guys that day just made me realize a lot, and us, like, we not really paying attention. We going to school with these guys have our best interests at heart, and we are just doing what's the curriculum.
Right.
You know, and not noticing we're missing so much
Absolutely.
in the curriculum.
Yep.
So, like you say, that's great, man. That's amazing. And she may gain some friends that's going to hurt her. Now, trust me, it got some people that's going to hurt you from our race. It's got some people that's going to hurt you from your race. And those are hurt people that's already been hurt. So all they do is deliver more hurt because, one, they don't want to trust. Two, it's hard for them to love.
Right.
You know, and if we got the media showing that I can't get along with this person because he's white or because she's Indian or Russian, there ain't no love, and it definitely ain't gonna be no trust because all we showing is distrust and hate. So I appreciate that.
But yeah. So we do look. We're not moving mountains yet, but
Right.
look,
No.
we are in people's minds and in people's hearts, and that's what this is,
right.
man. That's what I wanted to do.
Stephen, Lily, thank y'all for listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Lily, keep being a free thinker.
And anybody else that has any stories like this, even if you don't know how to contact us, notsowidedivide@gmail.com. Send us an email, write something up, post on our Facebook, get in our group. Because, man, this is what this is about. Coty said it a long time ago. This is not just our podcast. This is y'all podcast. We do this to hopefully change community and bring community together.
Right.
So, any other parting words, Coty?
No, that's it. Thank you. Like, comment, share.
Hey, be human out there. Yeah, we come with a whole bunch of emotions. Try to stay in a positive mindset. Don't let the emotions carry you too far, because once the emotions settle, it's reality. Y'all have a good weekend.
Remember, guys, the divide is not so wide.
Peace.